what we're going to talk about now then is talk a bit about our product roadmap, our product strategy, where we're going, some of the innovations that we've got coming out, some of the things that we're fixing as we go through. So hopefully over the next half an hour, I'll be able to show a bit about the way we think about products and the way we think about technology here in Iris and for education, but also show you some of the new products that you'll be able to see full demos of down in the expo. It's probably worth mentioning, I've worked in education for 20 years on and off, and really have had a good time on the whole, kind of getting to understand the sector, understanding the challenges that are faced, and similar to Katie, the opportunity to do something that has an impact on people's lives that you can then see flow through the schooling system, through the education system, and actually being able to influence government and to try and make things better along the way. Whether we succeed or not is debatable sometimes, but definitely a privilege to work in this sector. So, we started, Iris, as you heard earlier, started way back in 1978, but our education portfolio we started building back in 2017 with the acquisition of PS Financials. And then we went through and bought Results Squared, or PS Connect is the product you'll probably use the most, Parent Mail, Contact Group, where we've got some software to support looked after children, so children in care within local authorities, and we help manage their education portfolio or their education profile right through the social care system. And then the last acquisition was the beginning of last year, where we acquired Biostore, which is a biometric service. So if you're a school with cashless catering and the thumbprints that you kind of use to get your dinner money, then that's the type of system that Biostore provide. So I'm going to talk a bit today about three things really. One, integration and what we're doing to bring our products even closer together so that you get the best of the product experience. Talk a bit about improving the user experience. So a really good question from the lady at the back about do they look and feel the same? Yes, they do, and we're trying to get better at doing that also. So actually, when you've got a product that's integrated with the PS Financial suite, that it feels like an integrated product suite, and that you get the workflows, and the workflows are the same, and so the permissions that you set up and the security rules that you set up actually flow through everything that you're using from a PSF suite point of view. And then talk a bit about innovation. So we've got three products here today, one that we're officially launching and a couple that we are currently in pilot with that I'd like to share with you. And then a sneaky preview at the end. So, the engagement roadmap. So we split our portfolio into two types of products. One is the engagement suite, where we talk about Parent Mail and PS Connect and PlusPay. And then we talk about our finance product suite, which is PS Financials, PS Assets, PS Purchasing, those types of products. So we'll start with engagement. When we talk about engagement, we talk really broadly about how do you do engagement in an educational establishment. Whether that's simple things like comms and messaging and sending emails, whether that's being able to take that payment and that transaction, and whether that's a primary school doing dinner money transactions, or whether that's a full cashless catering system, whether you're trying to do collaboration and sharing and actually share your school reports going out, whether it's trying to book meetings, trying to do the dreaded parents' evening scheduling of coordinating all the teachers and the parents then saying, well, you've run out of slots, I want to see this person. How do you manage all of that through the software? And then importantly, as we start to evolve the software, actually looking at how do you get feedback coming in. Now, feedback is always a bit contentious when I talk about it for the education world. Feedback from parents to teachers, that sounds... yeah, I'm not quite sure I'd like that. But the ability to provide feedback to us on the software, and also to find out, actually, this the parents' evening booking system isn't working quite the way you think it does, or isn't working quite the way for your parents, getting that feedback from your customers, the parents, and feeding that back to us and being able to capture that through the software is really important for us to make your lives easier. So this is not about parents being able to phone you up and telling you what they think about you on a Tuesday morning once they've kids just received their detention notice. This is about how you feed that back through the software. There's someone smiling there who understands perfectly what I mean. And to that end, we then have these things around the side that try and drive the behaviours that we want. So quite a lot you'll hear about gamification. So can you take some of that gaming technology and put it into products? So can you collect badges and rewards and do that? I used to work for another education company, and we put some gamification in for teachers, and actually most of the teachers loved it. Right? They would go off and collect badges and rewards, and really drove up the usage of the software. So are there some things that we can do around that? Lots of people talk about analytics and artificial intelligence. It's really not there yet. It really isn't that clever. The bit that is maturing is something called predictive analytics. So can we take the past data that you've got? Can we take your past financial data? Can we take the past behaviors of when you send messages and when you're likely to send messages, and use that to predict what you're likely to do in the future? We can tell across the 4,000 schools that use the engagement products that when parents' evenings happen, because we see a bit of a spike in usage of parents. We can see when there are snow days and everyone goes mad and sends out millions and millions of text messages to all the parents. We can see, and therefore, I think Tim, who's at the front, who's going to talk a bit later, we've got some alerts set up with the Met Office that tell us when it's likely to snow and which parts of the country, so that we can manage our system in a way that allows us to scale, as JF talked about earlier. So that predictive analytics is definitely something that's here and something that we're looking to do more of. And then there's that whole access and identity, where tying in the ability to get access into the school, to knowing where everybody is within the school, to being able to then manage that identity through the paying for your dinner money pieces, right the way through to we have a random conversation the other day with P&O Ferries, where they're talking about how can we manage our creche with having an access system that is just a wristband, and they walk in and it tags where the children are, and then they know how many people are in that state. So really thinking about how you can control where people are in the school and how many people are in different areas, and thinking about that access piece in a much more holistic way from how you teach point of view. In our product suite, we have those communications apps, so Parent Mail, PS Connect, and Truancy Call. So Truancy Call is software to do absence management. So if you have a particular persistent absence problem with children not attending school, whether that's a parent issue or a social issue, then Truancy Call provides a voice call system that will phone the parent or the guardian that's in your MIS as the primary contact, and say, why is your child not turned up to school today? If the person hangs up, it'll phone them again. And if the person hangs up, it'll phone them again. Until some point, they have to answer and choose one of the options in the system, or leave a message, or provide some reason behind it. So it's really useful for those persistent absence management pieces. There's PlusPay, which we talked a little bit about around our payments engine. So being able to take money for trips, and whether you want to take a trip and divide it into smaller fees, the software will allow you to manage that so that parents can phase their spending right the way through to paying for clubs, paying for kind of dinner money, paying for school uniform. I think there's about 20 different categories we've identified over the recent months of things that people spend money on. Some of them slightly more obscure in an education environment than others. But a whole payments engine that allows you to manage the payments that you need to push out to your parents. And then finally, that biometrics piece. So what are we doing? In this, our current roadmap is mainly focused on bringing this together. So at the end of last year, we brought together PS Connect with a Parents' Evening Manager module and the payments engine. So if you are a PS Connect customer, you can now not only do the comms piece and the communications engagement, but you can also now automatically send out the payments information to your parents without having to re-register all your parents again. So it's a full integration in that product suite. By the end of March, we're integrating Truancy Call in. So today, PS Connect has some absence management capability in that you can send messages and you can send email alerts, but we're combining that voicemail functionality in so that you can actually do this persistent reminder. And certainly in schools that I talk to where they do have a absence management challenge, Ofsted are very keen on how they're managing and what extra they're doing to kind of drive drive the change in kind of attendance for their pupils. And then lastly, we are integrating at the end of March the payments engine directly in with PS Financials, so that at the end of the day, when you've got your ledger and you've got your inputs and outputs from your payment system, that will automatically transfer straight into your PS Financials product, which means you don't need to type in any data, or you just need to go in and validate and make sure it's correct. But obviously that flow of data between the systems, which is driving our whole integration approach to make sure that our products come together. Some point before the end of June, product people get really vague about dates the further out they get, as you'll probably appreciate. It infuriates our sales guys completely, which is one of the upsides of pushing, getting vaguer as the further dates go out, knowing that half of them are sat over there. Before June, our plan is to then integrate Biostore fully into our payment suite, so that Biostore has got this really great little bit of functionality where on a whiteboard you can stick your school register up, a kid can come in, sign in, take the register, choose whatever meal they want for that particular day, and then it will automatically flow through to the cashless catering side of Biostore, but then automatically write the marks back into whatever your MIS provider is as well, and all through kind of the interaction of through the whiteboard. So again, really taking advantage of the investments schools have already made in the kind of whiteboard technology in the schools. And what that's allowing us to do is to really start planning out an integration path through the school day that starts to hopefully drive productivity and efficiency for you as users, but also that seamless experience, whether your parents chucking money in for their dinner money for their kid their day because they can't be bothered to make some sandwiches and they're running late for school and they need to just get the kid out the door, or whether that's taking that register on the way through, whether it's, oh yeah, today's a newsletter day I need to send out, or I need to remind people about those school trips coming through, or whether it's halfway through the day when actually you need to do a payments run and do that reconciliation, or you want to hook in with your finance person and say, actually, I've got this bunch of assets and I don't really know where I am with them, is there something I need to do with them? Flowing that all the way through to all of the out-of-hours activities that happens around managing clubs, managing payments for those clubs, and then being able to report and provide that data back to your senior management teams to say what's going on. That's the journey that we're on to create that experience throughout all of the products. Make sense? Some nods, some smiles. Hooray. So a quick slide on what we have now. So all the stuff we have in green, that all exists now. The access and identity we are working on now, so that Biostore integration, and we're definitely thinking more about how we pull that feedback and that whole gamification and user experience coming through. So finance portfolio then. So the finance suite, again, we think about it slightly differently. You might have noticed the elements slide earlier, and it's kind of starting to use hexagons to kind of bring things together. So at its core is our PS Financials accounting product, and then around the edge we have the modules that make up the finance suite. So whether that's expenses, our reporting and analytics, our ability to handle making tax digital, whether it's asset management, purchasing, all of those modules you'll be familiar with. We're also looking at the extension in, Katie talked about using PS People and our HR and payroll capability. We're also looking at how we do greater integration with the MIS providers. So we're in conversations with most of them at the moment around actually what useful data can we pull out of that and automatically populate into the finance product. What partnerships can we create that start to make the sum of these multiple bits of data equal more than the sum of their parts? And then as we start to think further forward, we're starting to think about, okay, so yes, we've got this payments data transferring through, but I don't meet many people that say it would be nicer if I could have an easier way of communicating with my SLT and with the teachers around the school. And actually, some of the functionality that you've got that we use for parents would be really good if we had it built into the finance product suite. So we're starting to think about how we pull some of that capability on the basis of, on the Elements platform, as JF talked about earlier, to take advantage of all of these modules being on the same platform and therefore bringing that technology together. So what makes up the product portfolio? So PS Financials, obviously, and those modules that sit around it. We're going to talk a little bit about 3 new ones. So you'll see a change in branding start to appear as we are part of Iris and invest more in the product portfolio. You'll start seeing the Iris brand being used and swapped out for the PS brand. And then we have assets on the side. And I'm not going to talk about all of these because there isn't enough time. But if you want to talk about any of them that I don't talk about today, either come and find me. I'll be hanging around in the expo area or up here. Or find one of the team in the red shirts down in the expo area and they can talk to you about them. What we're doing, though, is starts with a very similar story. So, yes, there's that integration with PS Financials and PlusPay. And then at the end of April, we will have integration with assets as well. So if you buy something in PS Financials and you want it to be added to your asset ledger, why does it not then automatically populate your asset management software so that it appears there, and then you can manage the depreciation within your finance software, but also then start to use the help desk functionality and the tagging functionality within the asset software, so that if you've got an asset that has got a fault on it, you can then, if all your teachers download the app, scan the barcode that sits on it and raise a fault and raise a ticket. It can go off to whoever you want it to and actually drive some of that efficiency through the team rather than having to wait until you see that person again. I was in a school not so long ago and they put these QR codes on every single door in the building and literally, so if there was a fault with the door, anything that moved had an asset tag on it. And so if there was a fault with the door, I scanned it, raised the ticket, chucked it off to the facilities guy. They came and looked at it and they put some SLAs around it and was really driving that efficiency all the way through their estate. They keep running out of tags, clearly, because there's lots of doors. And then we've got some new products, which I'm going to talk about individually now. So first of all, I'm really pleased, so Mark and Richard sat just there, to launch Iris Financial Planner. So we've partnered with SBS to deliver some really good kind of budgeting software. Not only does it look clean and fresh and is simple to use, it does lots of things that our customers have been asking for a while. So true multi-year, being able to do multiple years budgets and being able to flow that through from the budget you're on today, being able to do that hierarchical management. So if you're a multi-academy trust and you want to flow a percentage pay rise automatically to all of your schools, you can set that as 2% in the middle. Correct me when I get dishonest, Mark, please. When you'll be able to manage your staff reporting and manage all of your staff contracts through your budgeting software, as well as it has complete integration with PSF. So when you set yourself up, you don't have to transfer loads of data into the system. There's a tool that you can use and enable to say, actually, here's the data we want to transfer through, and that works both ways. So once you've got your budget set and you want to push it back into your accounting system, then you can push the information. Probably really interesting, most interesting to me, and one of the bits that I really like about the software is the ability to tag your financial data, which, given the scrutiny that the EFSA and the government have on education finances and the auditing of education finances, I think will become more and more relevant and more part of everybody's job. So there's this ability to tag a finance item with as many tags as you like. So if it's a piece of maths spend, you might want to tag it with 100% maths. But you might also say, actually, I'm using some of my pupil premium funding for this as well. So I'm going to tag 20% of it as pupil premium funding, and I'm going to tag 10% of it as something else, whatever you want to tag it as. You can then create those tags, and then start assigning them to items within your budget, which then means that you can then run a report that says, actually, where is all of my pupil premium funding going across my entire estate, whether that's by school or whether that's by multiple schools and your multi-academy trust. And because of the multi-year planning that you can put in that, if you've got that set up within the budgeting system, you can then see, actually, how is that going to change based on the variables that I've put in over the next year, over the next 2 years, over the next 3 years, as you look forward. So I think it's really, really powerful tool to actually being able to demonstrate back to those that have a watchful eye over us all, where the spend is going and how you're spending that money. Make sense? So moving on. Invoice Matcher. So Invoice Matcher is really hard to do a demo of for me on here, or to give a screenshot for, because essentially you send an invoice in to an automated bot, it scans it, if it matches, you do nothing. Hard to give a demo of. Unless it goes wrong, and then it's really easy to give a demo of, really hard to do that on stage in front of a bunch of people that you're trying to say, it's a really good product. Here's how it goes wrong. So I'm not going to do a demo of it. What it does do, though, is we've, again, partnered with a company called Kofax, who do this internationally. They're a US company. Data's held in Europe, which is a frequently asked question. But they have 900 partners with thousands and thousands of clients around the world. And so they've really improved their ability to match invoices. And in testing that we've done so far, we think most schools will get about an 85% match. So you chuck an invoice in, if it's a 100% match, and against the purchase order that you've got, it'll automatically then go through your approval, your workflow process to get that signed off and pushed through. If it's a partial match, it will find that line item, and it will automatically go through your purchase order and your approval process and go through. If it doesn't match, if it's too much, it will then default back to your workflow process and go through your exception errors and flag it to whoever that is. It won't automatically match it off and sign it through. If it's an invoice that it's never seen before, you have to give it a bit of training and say, here's a new invoice, and show it where the address is and show it where the values are in that invoice template. But by you doing that for that one invoice, it then is available to the whole of the Kofax estate, not just our estate, the Kofax estate. So actually the chances of you finding an education company in this country where we haven't already found somebody that's put that invoice in, all of the common ones are covered, and you get the benefit of that collective teaching of the system as you use it. So we're really excited about it. We're really pleased that we've got the full integration with the workflow. There's a caveat at the bottom that I can't see because I'm too short, but that says not all invoice matching solutions are the same. We have found some really cheap invoice matching solutions. My favorite that I won't name was about 10% of the price that we were looking at here, but matched about 10% of invoices, which is probably net useless as an automatic invoice matching solution. So we don't claim to be, you will find cheaper invoice matching solutions out there, but you won't find one cheaper, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in this, that does that full workflow management and has such a high rate of accuracy in its matching service. So go and find out a bit more about that. They can do a demo downstairs. It just looks a bit weird on here with me going, there we are, nothing's happened. And then finally, on product-wise, talk about analytics. So running theme here. So again, we've partnered with a company called Columo, and starting to look at actually how do we bring all of this data together into what's technically known as a data warehouse. So this is a simple income dashboard statement. So some stuff coming in, some stuff going out, some trend lines that you might see there, some data. You can create the dashboard to represent what you like it to do. But then when you click on it, you can drill through and see, actually, how does that split out by schools? Which ones are actually net positive and which ones are net negative in any particular period? If I want to see that as standard data format and actually see my flow from kind of September right through to August and see what the trend line is, then I can see that. I can see that in multiple different ways and drag and drop the data that I want to see. So when you're talking about database or multi-dimensional databases, probably the best way to think about it is to think about pivot tables on ACID, right? So think of a pivot table, you can drag some stuff through. You swear at it quite a bit because it goes wrong and you always end up deselecting the wrong data. Yeah, okay, so this is drag and drop the fields that you want. And the bit that we've done that's different from other kind of just chuck my data into a data warehouse is we've made sure that once again, the calculations that you get as a result of bringing two bits of data together match the calculations that you'll see within PSF, right? So if you know that this and this equals this number, when you're looking at your data warehouse data, you should get this with this data equals this number, and they will match and be the same. So again, really thinking about that whole integration piece, and so that you're not spending your time thinking about, well, I've done this in this one, I've done this in this one, and they're a bit different, and then how do I do that? Actually making your lives easier, which then will allow you to do hopefully a couple of things. One, it's a reasonably smart system, as in it provides you with some information and some commentary about what's going on with your data before you've looked at your data, so you can start to pull some of that intelligence straight out of it. What it also allows you to do is this, which is it integrates with PowerPoint, Word, and Excel, so that if you have a monthly financial report that you need to create for your senior team, you can put a table in there that is automatically linked back to the RS Analytics platform. You can also have some commentary that you want, and so you might say income for the month was blah, exceeding the budget of blah by blah. And that will automatically populate each month. So if you've got a standard pack that you need to produce and create for your exec team, then actually you can create that standard pack, and then at the beginning of the month go, create my pack for February. And it will go away and populate all of the right data in there, so you get that consistent look and feel. It will also make, as I said, some recommendations on, actually, have you seen some of this bit about your data? Make sense? Pivot tables on acid, that's all you need to remember. So that brings us back to here. So what do we have now? We have everything in green, so expenses, accounting, purchasing, making tax digital. We have launched reporting and budgeting and invoice matching. You can see down in the expert area. Next is we're thinking about how we do greater integration with these, which is, so HR and payroll exist now, as do assets and payments, but we're thinking about how do we do that closer integration? What other data can we pull out of the HR system and feed into that analytics engine? So with the ultimate goal of starting to think about, actually, can I drag my assessment results with how much I've spent on a particular topic with what the future looks like for that, and is there anything useful and insightful I can get from that? I have no idea, right? But having that data come together is the beginning of starting to thinking about that space. And then as we go forward, as I said earlier, thinking about the comms and the futures. So the sneak peek, so we are working on a new version of PS Financials, and we call it internally, it's called a project called Dragonfly, but you'll see it as version 7. And again, that look and feel that I've very helpfully queued up, I must buy a drink later in the bar, is we're starting to get that consistency across all of the products. So the next version of PS Financials will look much cleaner, much easier to use, a bit less Windows 95. Having your favorite icons at the top, being able to have a dashboard that pulls through, that's showing you the information that you want in the screen rather than just the PSF Financials logo. It'll still allow you to drill down and see all of your the components that you might want to go through in the system, but also just have a much cleaner kind of look and feel and interface. So if you are interested in getting involved in that design program, all of the core back-end code is complete. If you're interested in being involved in shaping how that looks and feels and some of the experiences you might want to do, then please dig me out on the app and ping me a note and a message, and we'll tag you into that kind of feedback program. Final thing. As we look forward, we are, as you would expect us to do, starting to think about, so as artificial intelligence matures, as we look at how we try and solve difficult problems, as we build that on the Elements program and the technology that we've talked about today, actually just thinking about you as a customer, how we invest and how we really drive the change in the way that we talk to you as a business, the way that we service you as a business, and the way that we then deliver software as a company. So hopefully from that, where you've taken the following things. We're investing loads of money, right? We are really properly investing in the products and bringing them together with your experience at mind. That integration is key to everything that we do. As Alona said earlier on stage, we still get stuff wrong. But we're not claiming to be perfect, but keep telling us where we're getting wrong, and we keep improving and keep feeding that back into the process. It's really, really important to do us. And then, as all product people, stand and do roadmaps a lot, and this caveat always comes up, which is roadmaps change. This is our best view of today. Things won't change. The further out you get, the harder it gets to see, but this is the best view we have of today, and gives you hopefully a good view of where we're going. Thank you very much. So, any quick questions on that before we kind of wrap up and let you go and get some lunch? Always a dangerous point on stage. Yes, go. Yes, so we're piloting it now. We've got a few customers using it, but we're piloting the workflow integration. We're not piloting, obviously, the matching technology itself, because that's kind of widely used. So yes, it's available now. You can go. It's on the expo downstairs. You can go and see it. A couple of the Kofax guys are here today as well. So if you've got some really in-depth techie questions, you can ask them how it works.
Perhaps a couple of invoices.
Yes, yeah. Chuck some invoices through it. Yep. Yes. Yes. No. Probably not. It's not really in my interest to do so. I think there is some integration that happens at the moment, but that level of integration that flows it through into the kind of workflow of PS Financials, actually, we're the only folks that can do that, because we own both sets of code, so it would be pretty difficult to do. But I know that there's some kind of basic integration that exists today. Yes. Mm-hmm. Lucky you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. So, so where we can, we are trying to get parity of integration across all of them. There are a few MISs that won't share some of the depth of data that's available in their systems, so we just can't do it. But we are actually going through the process, Tim and I, of reviewing all of it at the moment to see actually where can we do it, and re-engaging with them at a different level of partnership to try and unlock some of those doors as well. So yeah, watch this space. I think we're going to get much better integration across the MIS suite, but there'll still be a few that don't want to play nicely. Sorry. Excellent. So I think we're back here at 2, is it? Is it 2 o'clock? Back here at 2. And we're going to hear this afternoon a bit from Verinda, who's going to talk about some hints and tips on how to get the best out of a couple of the products. And then we're going to have a couple of schools come on board and talk a bit more about engagement and how to drive up engagement with parents, but also how to do some of that aggregation of multiple different products in your estate and pulling it together. So we'll see you all back here around 2 o'clock. Perfect. Thank you very much.